Spiritual path after receiving sporadic messages in 1883. You did.
Oh my.
1983 in Boulder, Colorado, that her teaching career was complete and it was time to add spirituality to her life. But she would be moving. And her mother's poor health brought her to San Diego, and her mother's transition established her back to living in San Diego and taking classes from spiritualist teachers and science of mind teachers, and she was ordained at the Fraternal Spiritualist Church in 1995. Her spiritual path has taken her to Russia and Mexico and to give workshops there. She currently speaks at spiritualist churches as well as centers for spiritual living. Reverend Margo has ongoing classes called Saturdays with the Angels for 19 years at the Universal Spirit Center, and she recently identified herself as an explorer of divine love, joy, peace, and abundance, believing that God can never be stagnant and it isn't our destiny to be stuck or stagnant either. We are here to expand and stretch to unseen vibrations, to luxuriate in intimacy with the divine. Let's welcome warmly, please, Reverend Margo Alora.
Do you mind if I stay here?
Oh, you sure may.
I'll talk loud. Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Wow. So I wore this shirt on purpose. Not that it isn't cute, because it is. But I wanted you to see all the eyes. All over the place. Hidden, left and right, colorful, not so colorful, big, little. That's what I'm going to talk about. So I'm talking about light workers, and I'm talking about us looking differently, finding different perspectives, knowing that the divine is inviting us to look bigger, look differently, notice things that our culture hasn't necessarily said to notice. So I find this a very exciting time. So if I get excited, just know that that's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm feeling. So these pictures remind us of how each of us contribute to the grand evolution. And I'm also calling it right now revolution. A revolution in our part of raising the vibration, raising the awareness of you and you and you and you, me, and many other light workers that I wasn't aware of. There's millions of us. And you know, it's like somebody walked down the street, they may not know you're a light worker. Because here we are, we don't put a LW on us, but we are. So the first one is a story I want to share. So there's this concert, big concert, and classical music, you know, and I have a friend that's a concert master, so I know how they concentrate, and the strings are important, and the drums are important, and everything is going very well. And my concert master is taking everybody to the grand finish, and we're all watching, and all of a sudden he goes, and it's complete. And there is a nanosecond of complete quiet in this big concert hall. And then there's heard by everyone in there, wow. And people just sort of register it, and then they clap and go on. But the producer of that concert thought, who was that person that went, wow. You could feel it was so authentic and so grand an expression. So nowadays he could do this. He emailed every ticket holder in that concert to find that, wow. And he found a grandpa that was up in the alley. No.
Stadium?
Balcony.
Okay.
Not in the alley, in the balcony. And the grandpa had his grandson with him. And the grandson was on the spectrum of altruism and autism. So he was non-verbal. And yet that music touched his soul. And he spoke a word. So they invited the grandpa and the parents and the little boy to a meeting to talk about this. Like, what happened? You know, it's like music being magical. What happened? And as they're all talking, they realized that the vibrations of the music touched him in such a way that it altered, you know, that the synapses and what's going on in the brain. And he said one word. So they went ahead and they started having him go to the concerts. They even had some of the like major players come to the house and play for him. And in that way, he was reached in a way and changed his brain, or I'd say enlarged or expanded his thinking, and he was able to start talking. To me, that child was a light worker and is a light worker. And many autistic children are. They didn't come to be, well, they are like us, but they also came to add something to our awareness. Then, in this case, not all children, because I was a teacher, not all children learn alike. Doesn't mean they're dumb if they don't learn the way, you know, so many. It means they learn differently. And in this world, let us open up to the way we all can learn. And I've talked to grown-ups that have found out they have a different learning style. And later in life, they've learned differently and expanded their learning. So that's the story about the boy that said, wow. He now has a book, and many people are bringing their grandchildren to concerts because of him and the grandpa. It's a great change.
Good story.
Yeah. So the next change I want to talk about, this is a mother, and she also had a child that was autistic and nonverbal. And she and the child are outside, and she's got her cell phone like a lot of us do. She's taking pictures, you know, which is so much fun. So she's taking this picture, and she's taking this picture, and suddenly this little young child takes her hand very gently and takes the camera and starts taking pictures. This nonverbal child takes a picture of a flower, and he says, "This is a flower." And she was thinking. Then he goes to a rock, takes the picture, looks at the picture, and says, "This is a rock." Then he turns to his mom, and he takes a picture of her, and he says, "This is my mom, and I love her." The melting in that experience must have been tremendous. So it's about having the understanding that we are one. We're just not all in the same rut. We're not in a rut. We learn differently. Even our love expressions can be different. So I'm just beginning to really wonder how many thousands and millions of light workers there are. And can you and I open up to experiencing them? Light workers make the unseen love visible. They don't depend on circumstances, but rather make unseen vibrations come to light. Don't you like that one? And this is what you and I and these children I was just talking about, this is what we do. Light workers stay focused on the light. I love this one. They stay focused on the light. They don't spend their energy fighting the darkness, but rather sparkle and diminish the darkness. Let's acknowledge who we are as light workers and not allow our culture to diminish others by demanding sameness, but rather acknowledge and support the divine in others and individual expression. There's another example. Uh-oh. Don't worry. We'll go back. You will never know that I missed one example. Okay. Well, I gotta find it. Oh, here they are. So there's 2 children in Canada. And I have to read this because I don't want to get this one mixed up. And so it's a family in Canada. They had 2 children. The first child, age 11, was born as a boy and absolutely knew that he was a girl. The second younger child was born a girl and knew that he was a boy. This family embraced these children with love. Might these souls be light workers, bringing our attention to what we emphasize in hospitals the minute that babies are born, shifting babies into pink or blue blankets and immediate categories. Might we look at new souls as possibilities rather than predicted destinies? So I like to send this family love because they're doing new things, aren't they? They're experiencing in new ways as each child has brought this understanding to them. Love me as a child, not a gender. Let my gender be not demanding who I am, but my soul demand my place on this earth. So I like this that I wrote. Might we look at new souls as possibilities rather than prescribed destinies? And I know when I was being raised, girls were social workers and teachers. And now, girls and women are many, many different occupations. So I believe we're growing in this area. And then I believe also that the trans idea has come to help us open more. I remember 25 years ago, I was talking to someone about, changing their gender, and 25 years ago I said, I don't think that's a good idea. I think you came and then the experiences you came to have. I no longer see it that way now, as so many children come. I think they've come to expand our understanding. So now when I go to a baby shower, I take a green or a yellow or a purple blanket. I don't take pink and blue. So the last example is a young woman that I saw the video on. She was in college, long blonde hair, doing fine, 19 years old, the world is her oyster, and then trying to get through all the studying everything, and she got meningitis, which is not uncommon actually for that age group. And she went into a coma. And when she came out, let's see if I can remember this right, both feet didn't have enough blood, so they amputated them, and one hand. So she came out of this coma with one hand, but it stopped working properly, and it was flopping around. So she said, amputate that also. So there she is, long blonde hair, possibilities, just all around her, without hands and without feet. And this video shows her, doesn't show all the stuff she went through, which must have been tremendous. But as she's sharing with us now, she wants us to know how she operates and lives in the world. So she shows that she is without hands and feet, and she wakes up in the morning, and her hands and her feet are by her bed. And the first she has to do is get her hands, and they are metal hands, they do this like this way. So she's able to get in over, and then it looks to me a little bit like the old armor that they had in the olden days. So it's all wrapped around you. Well, this is softer material. I don't see her going, okay, I'm going to put these on. It doesn't, that's not what she says, I want to show you how I live. She gets it, she scrunches into it, she puts it on, and she's got hands. Then she reaches over, pulls the other apparatus on one leg, she has legs, but onto one leg, and onto the other. She has hands and she has feet. She smiles at you and she says, now let me tell you my day. And she has what we would call, a normal day. First thing she gets is coffee. But what I realized is she is a light worker in that she is not dependent on her circumstances to make her happy. Her soul has made her aware that her soul is not in her body, but the body is in the soul, and all possibilities are there. And she was willing to share that with this video and with us to show us our souls are precious. Let's not limit them by any circumstance. Touches me. Touches you too, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And let's see, I wrote, I sensed from her she is leading us to live dynamically in expanded ways as light workers. Let's give our all to bypassing limitations, restrictions, and boundaries. Last week I turned 83. And there's this little boundary that's trying to get me, but I won't let it. You're old, you can't. And when we were singing, it was best for me not to stand with you all because I didn't want to lose my balance. Not that I would have, but anyway, it's okay. I'll accept a little bit of compromise, but I'm not going to let anybody's definition, and I don't want you to either. You're too young, you can't do that. You're too skinny, you can't do that. Just smile and walk away. Walk away from these limitations, like that young woman does every day. And she puts her feet on and puts her hands on. So I'm going to end with some tips for light workers. Go beyond surface thinking. That would be like somebody saying to me, you're too old. That's just, it's just a surface thought. It doesn't apply to an individual. Maybe some 83-year-olds don't want to stand up and talk in front of people. Who knows? But that's a surface thought. Circumstances don't dictate all of our emotional, expanded thinking. It's a portal of wonderful possibilities. I have a friend, he didn't learn to speak till he was 8 because he has virtually no auditory memory. So his family would say, brush your teeth and go to bed. And he'd go to bed. And this family, this was quite a while, because now he's 90. It was quite a while ago. But so they finally, and everybody's, high functioning doctors and da-da-da. And so they decided they'd maybe put him in an institution because he couldn't talk and he couldn't follow directions. So they went to the institution and it was closed. And my friend's name is Don. And Don, I think he was 7 or 8, something like that. And he's going, I don't want to live there, so I better figure out how to live here. I think I'm, they're saying these words, and I think I'm saying them back, but apparently they're not thinking that. So he taught himself to read as his siblings were learning to read. Then, and this is a true story. This is a long time ago, so it'd be maybe different now, and then what he did, he taught himself to speak one word at a time. One word at a time. It's a good thing he's quite bright. He actually has a PhD now, but that's the way he learned to adapt. And when he was in college, because most professors, they give these lectures and you write them down, and he couldn't remember what they said. So his mind, which is very bright, he actually had an ability to memorize everything that he read. So that's how he got through college and got his PhD. So this is about the soul comes in with this body that it's taking temporary, overness. Like, okay, body, I got you for a while, and then I'm leaving you. But soul, I've got you as the soul, and adapting and working this out so that there's an experience of evolution. Because of him, and he did share his story many times, many people that have auditory, I've forgotten the word, auditory, they can't remember, were able to be helped by him sharing his story. These children are not deficit in mental ability, they just can't remember what you said. So that's, light workers come in all shapes and all sizes. And this part about circumstances don't dictate our emotional, expanded thinking. It's a portal to wonderful possibilities. And we used to think that our bodies housed our souls, but I'm seeing now that our souls house our bodies. So when I talk to my body, you've got a little extra weight right now, go to the soul also and say, soul, how you feeling about that? Can you help me say no to that chocolate over there? Can you take me away from the chocolate? So my soul, that's what I'm believing. My soul is the avenue to taking better care of my body. So that was the end of my talk at first. And then God and me and my guides were talking. And I see that I need to expand my claiming as a light worker. But there's a little part of me that wants to hold back. Well, I'm a light worker, but I'm from El Cajon. How could I be? I'm a light worker, but I'm a lesbian, and some people say that I'm, sinful. I'm a light worker, but I'm old. So my guides are saying it's time to drop that. Just drop it, Margo. And I ask you, if you, are thinking about, well, I'm a light worker, but the other day I cussed. Or the other day I flipped off that bad driver, or whatever. Let us claim ourselves as light workers, not perfected, but in process. And our spiritual power for love and joy and peace and compassion and wisdom is a power that is used through us. So I hold hands with God, and I'm a light worker. That doesn't mean I'm not down here dealing with, duality and lack of confidence sometimes. But as I hold hands with God, the divine, the source, that energy can flow through me and not pay attention to cultural limitations. Not pay attention to the fact that, like, a friend of mine just made his transition, I'm calling it relocation. Just relocated. And even though, I mean, I know there is no death. There was a part of me that went, oh. So I still am functioning, in this world. However, I claim to be a light worker, and I invite you to. You are in process. You are the divine walking around in a world that is very dualistic, very sometimes challenging. But you are a light worker. I invite you to know, touch hands with your guides. Touch hands with the divine that is flowing through you. And raise the vibration of the planet. So just to finish, I want you to sing this last song with me, and I know it's this little light of mine, but I'm not feeling it. I'm feeling this big light of mine. That's what we're invited to do. Let's claim the bigness of the source that is within us. So I'm going to sing it first just to hear that way it's sung, and then I'd love you to sing it with me. This big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let's stand up and sing. This big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. No matter what. This big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. No matter what age you are. This big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.